be cold outside, but for hunters, there is a hotbed of activity.
In today's Let's Talk, brought to you by CC's Physical Therapy, we talk with Kayla, who is in the know for all things North Dakota outdoors. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, Kayla, as we mentioned, you host a podcast about the North Dakota outdoors. You can listen to NDO Podcast on Apple, iHeart, Spotify, or your favorite streaming platform. So just tell us again, we've had you on the show before, but how long you've had the podcast going and how it's going right now.
Yeah, so we started it a little over 2 years ago, so been 2 years. This summer we hit episode 50, so we kind of celebrated by the North Dakota Game and Fish Tournament has a big kind of display booth activities up at the State Fair. So we recorded an episode live up there and kind of snagged some kiddos that had just caught their first fish off the dock and things like that. But yeah, and I guess I should mention my lovely co-host, Casey, too, so it's definitely a team effort. But yeah, we just get to talk to our staff, to our partners, to other just people involved in the outdoors about anything, yeah, hunting, fishing, or otherwise outdoor related.
Yeah, well, and there's so many topics right now. As we mentioned, you know, we're deep into deer hunting season right now. We're talking about getting excited for ice fishing and all of that. What are some recent topics that you've covered that you really think people should check out?
Yeah, so our last one was with our fur bear biologist, Steph Tucker. She's super knowledgeable on all things fur bears. We get into a little bit of trapping, coyote hunting. She tells a story about, for research, they tagged some mountain lion kittens out west, and she kind of had a run-in with the mom, so that's pretty exciting. Yeah, so that's a really good episode. And then before that, we had on two firefighters with North Dakota Forest Service, and just kind of everything about the fires out west, kind of getting the call at 1 a.m. and what they do to spring into action, and just kind of the lifestyle they live as firefighters was really interesting.
So how was the live show different from all the other ones? You said it was a celebration, so how did that go?
Yeah, I mean, it was also hard to snag a few guests live and be like, hey, do you want to come be on this podcast? So a little bit, obviously, less preparation, but no, it was fun to catch people fresh while they're experiencing the outdoors, even if it is at the State Fair. But yeah, I guess it was just fun to be outside too, a little bit less formal. Not that our podcast is super formal anyways, but yeah.
You've had 50 episodes. You are very knowledgeable about a lot of things with the North Dakota outdoors, but what is something that you feel like you've kind of learned or gained from being part of this podcast?
I learn something every episode. It's a really cool part of my job that I get to talk to all of our staff. You know, I'm not just, a lot of our staff just work in their section and work on stocking fish or managing fur bears or whatever it is, and I get to talk to all of them and for sometimes up to an hour. So I learn something every episode about whether it's managing, science, species, a cool story. Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of my job.
Is there anything right now you'd like people to know just about North Dakota Game and Fish? Like I mentioned, you know, deer season. I think there are a lot of hunters out there right now, but is there anything in particular you'd like people to know about what's going on?
Yeah, just I guess a reminder, as deer season kind of wraps up here, please continue to be safe. So hopefully some of this precip hits most of the state, but we're actually still in pretty dry conditions the last couple of weeks as people were out enjoying the outdoors. So we were just reminding people to keep an eye on burn restrictions and road restrictions and things like that. And I guess one other thing I didn't even include in the notes, but we also have a hunting and habitat access summit coming up December 17th. You can see more information about that on our website, but still lots of work to do in terms of habitat and hunting access on the landscape. So we're holding a summit to try to see what we can do about it.
Very interesting all around. I have to look up that mountain lion kitten story because I want to hear about meeting a mom, and she lived to tell the tale. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Kayla, for being with us today. And this has been Let's Talk, which is brought to you by CC's Physical Therapy.
To learn more about the podcast, go to gfnd.gov/NDO/podcast. You can also find them on Instagram or Facebook.